Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Supreme Court today granted bail to Arvind Kejriwal in connection with the CBI FIR in connection with the Delhi liquor policy case. Now, this was a bench of Justice Ujjwal Guya and Justice Surikant, and both of them had taken a different stand as far as the CBI's arrest was concerned. Justice Surikant said that arrest was legal, it did not suffer from procedural irregularities. There is no merit in the contention that CBI failed to comply with the mandate of Section 4141A of the Code of Criminal Procedure while arresting him. Whereas, if you look at the stand of Justice Bhuya, he said he was of the view that CBI arrest was unjustified. Like Caesar's wife, the investigating agency must be above board. It's imperative that CBI dispels the notion of a caged parrot. But both these judges unanimously granted bail to Arvind Kejriwal, and considering the fact that the charge sheet was filed and the trial is unlikely to complete very soon. And therefore, the continued incarceration of Arvind Kejriwal would be an infringement of the right to liberty under Article 21. Now, what are the conditions which the court has set on Arvind Kejriwal? There are certain conditions because it's a conditional bail that he has to furnish a bail bond of 10 lakh rupees. Then he cannot make comments on the Delhi liquor policy case. And the most important, that he cannot enter the CM office or the secretariat. He cannot sign the files unless absolutely necessary to obtain the LG sanction. So now the big question which we are asking, that what are the larger implications of the Arvind Kejriwal bail case as far as the functioning of the enforcement agencies is concerned, and how will the bail impact the forthcoming Vidhan Sabha elections, and also in terms of a new life which seemingly Aam Aadmi Party has got now. Joining me now is senior journalist and political commentator Javed Ansari. So thank you so much for joining. We have Arun Agarwal, Supreme Court lawyer, with us. Thank you so much, Arunji, for joining. We have Akash Deep Muni, who's a political analyst. Thank you so much for joining. And we have Puneet Nicholas Yadav, senior editor with the Federal. Thanks, Puneet, for joining. And I would begin with Arun Agarwal, looking at the different stand which has been taken by the two judges in this particular case. Why do you think that they had differing views as far as the CBI's arrest was concerned? And each of them justified it.
No, no. I mean, judges are either conservative or they are little more liberal, or even go along the lines of being an activist. So their approach to the entire thing is different. And Justice Suryakant, he stuck just to the law, and he held that the bail, as far as the procedures were concerned of Section 41, was complied with, and arrest was legal. And then went on to say that why this matter should not go back to the trial court even after the submission of the charge sheet. Normally it goes back, and he should be granted bail, and he met all the conditions. He was not a flight risk, and if he tampered with evidence, then he would be back to where he was. So we can't presume that. And the third factor, as you mentioned, that the trial and the witnesses were going to take a very long time, so he couldn't be incarcerated for a longer period. Now the fact is that it is apparent that all these bodies are acting out of vindictiveness or selectiveness, though it's not said that they don't have a case. But then they pick on a bribe of, say, 100 crores and let go things which are worth thousands of crores. Or if you take even the amount of money that the banks have lost, after all, those are depositors' money. So those are not pursued or prosecuted or investigated even. So to make an observation that, I mean, it looks very bad that in that cycle of political vindictiveness, I mean, this has all started in Tamil Nadu, where each successive government would prosecute and go after the previous government. I mean, and there were only two, DMK and ADMK, whereas in other states they would cover up, and modus vivendi would take place and they would not prosecute. So apparently, I mean, this looks very strange that why are you selectively picking up, and that also from your opposite party? Suppose you had picked up another 5 or 10 people involved in corruption in various other BJP ruled states, that would have been in order. And the fact remains that all our organizations, the investigative organizations, work not independently, and they work for the government in power. So just like the earlier comment that it's a caged parrot, I think this comment was also appropriate, that the parrot should uncage itself, which will never happen, because by nature of the appointment and the way they function, they are always be going to be beholden to the government that they serve. But of course, it is a matter of degree. I mean, some it is far more, and in some places it is much less. So that's all that I have to say on this.
All right. Now let me come to Akashdeep. Akashdeep, now is it a new life now for Aam Aadmi Party now that Arvind Kejriwal is back? You already have Sanjay Singh who's out, and several others in the party, except for of course Satyen Jain, who continues to be in the jail. Uh, what is going to be the impact of Arvind Kejriwal's bail, especially when you talk about Haryana elections?
See, Niluji, this bail order had to come today or tomorrow. Everybody knew that because the trial has yet not started. And it's 2 years since there were multiple charge sheets filed in this case. I think 6 to 7 charge sheets have been filed. The interesting part in this today's bail order was the comments made by the Honorable Supreme Court. Now, what the Supreme Court is saying, that dear CBI, you have been not active for 2 years, and since you have interrogated Arvind Kejriwal, just after the trial court gave bail to Arvind Kejriwal, you became active and you arrested him only to stop him from going out of jail. So this is clearly, it is saying that there is a vendetta, and it is happening because CBI is a caged parrot, as something which was said in the times of UPA. So in BJP, after BJP coming, nothing has changed. Now the interesting factor is that who is caging the parrot? To whom CBI reports? To the Home Ministry. So is Home Ministry involved in putting Arvind Kejriwal behind bars? This has to be investigated impartially. I hope the Honorable Court will take so much cognizance of this matter and take a one step further and find out that who actually is caging the CBI. And if CBI is working on the orders of the Home Ministry, and because of the Home Ministry has ordered to arrest Kejriwal, this becomes clear that Kejriwal has been a victim of political vendetta. One more thing that Honorable Supreme Court said, that is a travesty of justice if Kejriwal leaves behind bar. Now, what Mr. Raju said, ASG of the Government of India, he says that if you want bail from Supreme Court regarding CBI case, go to the trial court again. Now this person has got a trial court bail order in the same case, but in the ED case. So again he has to go through all the trial court, then High Court, then Supreme Court. So this shows that Mr. ASG Saab wants to frustrate the victim rather than give him justice. Now, one more statement that Honorable Court said, that CBI should dispel notion of being a caged parrot. Caesar's wife has to be above suspicion. This statement is big. Why? You remember at the time when Honorable Prime Minister was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he many times said that CBI is a caged parrot, CBI is frustrating the Chief Minister, putting Home Minister behind bars of Gujarat.
No,
So
but
the
Akash,
UPA,
I've seen those observations, the points which you are making. But why do these court orders not put BJP on the defensive? Immediately after the bail was granted, There was Gaurav Bhatia doing a press conference, and I'm just going to quote what exactly he said, that the Supreme Court has shown a mirror to Kattar Beiman, AAP convener Arvind Kejriwal once again. He has got conditional bail. The jail wala CM is now a bail wala CM. Now, what about those comments? BJP still is seeing it as a victory, that it's a conditional bail.
See, BJP has mastered the art of communication, and the same has been percolated in the legacy media in this country. What they have done is that they will be telling lies one after the other and repeating the lies. You just today, yesterday, or any day, open the prime time and see all the anchors are repeating the lies peddled by the IT cell of Bharatiya Janata Party. But now the big question is that what will the Honorable Supreme Court do when the Honorable Supreme Court itself has remarked that the CBI has worked in a vendetta manner? Will the Honorable Supreme Court go one step ahead to find out that why CBI is behaving like this? Is the Home Ministry putting pressure on CBI? Will the Home Minister resign? These are the big questions that today the country is facing.
But BJP has been demanding Arvind Kejriwal's resignation, saying that as per the voice of the people, he should resign because the case was valid, and the very fact that he's got a conditional bail now. Gaurav Bhatia said it in the press conference that we demand his resignation. What would you say to this? And then after this, I'll go to Javed.
You know one thing, this is the model of governance that Bharatiya Janata Party is working on. You remember what happened in Jharkhand? uh, the ex chief minister who was on behalf of Hemant Soren, he is today with Bharatiya Janata Party. So this is the politics that they play. That first use Sam Dam Dand Bhed to break the backbone of opposition. So they will be asking for resignation. But Arvind Kejriwal has not resigned till now and will not resign in future also. And I hope that in future he will be getting the right to sign papers and work on the development of Delhi.
Hmm.
This is what I hope. What
But
the
as of
Justice
now,
Bhuya has told.
as of now, he cannot sign the files until unless it is very, very necessary, to obtain an LG sanction. So, is that not a sort of a handicap for the party at the moment?
No, 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 no. I don't think so because there are two judges in this particular case. Although the judgment is authored by Justice Surya Kant, but Justice Bhuya gave an alternate order, gave an alternate observation, I'll say, where he says that he does not agree that why the chief minister will not be allowed to go into secretariat. It may be taken in future, and I hope sooner the chief minister of Delhi will be allowed to sign papers for the development of Delhi.
Okay. Now I'll come to Javed to, I wanted you to comment on the entirety of the whole situation. One judge saying A, the other judge saying B. But the point is that if Arvind Kejriwal hasn't got the powers to sign the papers, he cannot enter the Delhi Secretariat, then how would you look at this judgment? Of course, Aam Aadmi Party is celebrating the bail order, but is the glass not half full? And both sides are, have a contention which is strongly perched in their favor, whether it is BJP or whether it is Aam Aadmi Party. Yes, Shah.
Look, there are two issues. Politically, it comes as a shot in the arm for the beleaguered Aam Aadmi Party. I'm not too sure if it will do them any good in the assembly elections, at least in J&K and in Haryana, because they're not. Let's face it, they're not much of a force to reckon with. However, their main goal is the assembly elections to Delhi, which will be held 6 months down the line, sometime early next year. That's what. Now that Arvind Kejriwal is out on bail, that will be a huge asset. He's a big draw. He's their main, he's a force multiplier. He'll work on that. Everything else is secondary. As far as not being able to sign files, I don't know the lawyer on our panel. He will throw light, but as a layman, I'm a bit intrigued. Hemant Soren was jailed on corruption charges. He came out on bail. He's been restored as chief minister. He's functioning as a full-fledged chief minister, just like the 22 or 20 plus other chief ministers are functioning. So why a separate set of things, conditions have been placed in the case of Arvind Kejriwal? This will be a handicap. You know, as it is, the lieutenant governor is a puppet on the string of the central government. He will create any amount of obstacles in the functioning of the government. Permission will not be granted, and if it, or he'll take at best a month of Sundays to grant permission for Arvind Kejriwal to sign on files on a particular file, or he'll give him permission to sign a particular file but not sign other files, stuff like that. So this will be a huge impediment in the smooth functioning. And in the last lap, because the Delhi Assembly is in the last lap now, last lap of this of its term. Usually, governments, open the purse strings, open the ledgers, do a lot of resort to a lot of populist measures. Now, for everything, if he has to take permission from the LG will not. We know that he's a BJP, self-confessed BJP sympathizer. He will not allow it, or will create hurdles. It will be a big problem. So administratively, it will only lead to more confusion, more problems. Politically, certainly, it's a shot in the arm for the Aam Aadmi Party. Yes.
Okay. Now, Puneet, coming to you, what do you think are the larger implications of Arvind Kejriwal in terms of both, in terms of the way the enforcement agencies have functioned, and do you think there are going to be some learning lessons for ED or CBI? And of course, politically as well, what do you think are going to be what is going to be the immediate fallout you see in as far as the Vidhan Sabha elections are concerned, and also over the next 6 months, which is like a period in the run up to the Delhi elections?
Well, Neelu, I don't think the ED or the CBI is going to learn any lessons, because the lessons are not for the ED and the CBI to be learned. The lessons are for the political, the establishment that has the levers of control for these two central probe agencies. And I highly doubt that they are in the mood to go on any sort of a learning curve. I mean, that aspect, I don't think that that there's any point in even discussing whether the ED and the CBI is going to mend its ways. There are various other issues that not just the judgment itself, but the judicial process in this entire case has raised. Of course, Mr. Mr. Bhatia of the BJP, and I believe he's a lawyer. The least one would expect him to know about the law is that all bails are conditional. There is nothing like unconditional bail. Or the conditions may be, different, but all bails are conditional. So to say that the chief minister is out on conditional bail, and so he is a bailed chief minister and not a jailed chief, it's just for the point of argument.
Yeah.
The fact is that he has been given bail. Of course, there are conditions, like there are conditions whenever a bail is granted. In his case, the issue is him not being able to function as the chief minister. Now, there again, I have while I agree with Javed Saab on the issue of the court taking a very kind of I mean, for the lack of a better word, I'd say double standards. Whereas when you when you grant bail to Hemant Soren, who's also wanted for corruption, who also the agency said that if he's out on bail, he's going to influence witnesses, he's going to tamper with evidence, etc. But he has been restored as chief minister. He's functioning as chief minister. And on the other hand, in Kejriwal's case, on the basis of the same arguments of tampering with evidence, of influencing witnesses, etc., he's been told that he is not supposed to function as chief minister. So that, of course, yes. But, Mr. Kejriwal's case is slightly different than Mr. Soren's. The reason for that is, one, Mr. Kejriwal does not, while he's the chief minister, he does not hold any portfolio other than that of the chief minister in the Delhi government. So for signing of files and other documents, the ministers are competent enough to do that. As far as the meddling by the lieutenant governor is concerned, that is, of course, a reality. But the problem there is beyond the scope of this judgment. Because, when the Delhi government took the LG to the Supreme Court, and two judgments came from the Supreme Court on the powers of the LG. After that, while there were curbs imposed by the Supreme Court, the central government, the BJP government, brought in the GNCTD Amendment Act. Now, that act practically emasculates not just the Delhi government, but it emasculates the Delhi Assembly. So there are no powers. To put it rather crudely, and to borrow a phrase from the late Sheila Dikshit, the Delhi chief minister is nothing more than a glorified mayor. Under the current scheme of things now, especially after the GNCTD amendment, because everything has to be run on the whims and fancies of the lieutenant governor, and we know who controls the lieutenant governor or whose bidding he does. So now the fact is that the chief minister had been in jail for the last 6 months. But the Delhi government, in whatever manner, was functioning. It wasn't as if the Delhi government had completely ceased to function because the chief minister was in jail. And I'm assuming, maybe Akash has better insights on this score, but I'm assuming that if a chief minister who's out on bail is not being allowed to sign files, while he was in jail, I would assume he was also not being allowed to sign the files. But the government was still functioning to the best of its abilities. One may argue whether it was functioning properly or not. That's a different matter. So
Right.
that aspect I disagree with on, or I have a slightly different opinion than Javed sir. So now the other aspect is politically, what are the ramifications? As Javed sir also pointed out before me, that it's a huge shot in the arm for the for the Aam Aadmi Party, because they're for the last several months, their top leadership was all behind bars. Manish Sisodia, Sanjay Singh, Arvind Kejriwal himself. Now, barring Satyendra Jain, all of them are out. So, in a sense, they have a full house. And they've got their face back in the public. So to mobilize people, to raise issues politically, to counter the BJP politically and visibly, you have Arvind Kejriwal present. I would not think that his release is going to have a significant impact on the AAP's prospects in Haryana. Maybe in a handful of seats, but I don't think it's going to have a huge impact. But in Delhi, it's definitely something that's going to help the Aam Aadmi Party enormously.
Puneet, does it have the potential to eat into the Congress votes? When Arvind Kejriwal goes along with his wife, goes to the people, starts campaigning, do you think it will have some kind of an impact in terms of denting the votes of Congress?
If you're asking this in specific regard to the Haryana elections, yes, I think the damage there may be slight damage, but it would be minimal. Because, from whatever I've traveled in Haryana of late, the general sense there is of a mandate for the Congress. So I do not think that it's going to have that huge or make that huge a dent for the Congress party. Very quickly, though, I would want to also comment on the judicial side of things here. Aside from him being allowed to sign or not sign, on the larger questions that come out of from this judgment. I mean, I have a lot of concerns on the judicial side of things, not specifically with regard to this case, but the larger, litany of cases against political rivals of the BJP, and also those who are dissenting or critical of the BJP, even if they're not political leaders. Now, or there are a couple of points where this judgment, it reiterates the, oft claimed or quoted dictum of bail being the rule and jail being the exception. Of course, it's rarely adhered to, and the Supreme Court also
Yeah.
needs to introspect why is that so. Uh, you know, but what Justice Bhuyan has said, now one may call it judicial overreach or whatever, judicial activism. That aspect, and because I've had the benefit of going through the entire 60 pages of the judgment, thankfully, this was not a voluminous judgment. The Supreme Court has somehow come into a habit of writing 200-page judgments even in a bail case. This one is fortunately just 60 pages, so I had the benefit of reading it fully. Justice Bhuyan, in his judgment, he talks about the necessity and timing of the arrest by the CBI. Now, as one great leader of this country, once said, "Chronology samajhiye." So he talks about the chronology of the events. And that is where he's talking about whether this arrest was right or not. That is something that the courts, in my view, need to be more alive to. I would have hoped that it was not just Justice Bhuyan's view, it was a view of both the judges. Because while procedurally, as Justice Surikant says in his judgment, that procedurally there is nothing wrong in the way the arrest has been done, requirements under Section 41 have been met, all that is fine. But then anyone who's seen investigations and who has seen how matters proceed in courts knows that it's not just procedure. You also have to look at things as a whole. And that is where the games are played, Now, to extend this further, my final point is that the real test of the Supreme Court in matters such as these, as well as of the wider opposition in matters such as these, would be if they extend this argument of personal liberty, of this kind of chronology of the arrests, of how people are kept in jail for very long, unjustifiably long periods, while agencies file one charge sheet after the other. In this case itself, there are 5 charge sheets: the main charge sheet and 4 supplementary charge sheets. So my point is, the judiciary and the wider opposition needs to also take a call. Are you only going to speak for the liberty of your own, or also of the countless other political prisoners who are not political leaders, but who have been similarly incarcerated? Would an Arvind Kejriwal tomorrow come out and say that just like him, even Umar Khalid should be given bail?
Absolutely.
Arvind Kejriwal gave permission for his prosecution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
He is
forget.
That is my point. That it can, otherwise this is only self-serving, politics. It's nothing else. So, if you're looking for some kind of judicial awakening, etc., I don't think so. I'm sorry to say that.
No, that's a significant point. But bringing the whole debate back to that point with Javed and you also had mentioned that there are 2 benchmarks for 2 different chief ministers. And Arunji, I'll come to you now. That the same, on corruption charges, Hemant Soren gets bail. He functions as a normally operating chief minister. But why these conditions on Arvind Kejriwal? Why couldn't the court sense this? Why couldn't the judges be sensitive to this issue?
Now, you see, as Javed Bhai also said, the 2 cases are very different. In case of Soren, they went into the merit of the matter. The judge gave a detailed order saying that the Soren had no connection with the person who owned the land, and It was a very well reasoned order which did not stand in the Supreme Court also. In case of Kejriwal, it is not so. See, he is seen as the mastermind of this entire excise policy from 5% to 11%. So we are comparing oranges and apples. So let us be very clear on that. Second thing, that one can turn around and say that while the elections was on, Kejriwal got bail, and Suren, because he belonged to the tribal this thing, he did not get bail. And that is no way of saying, and he couldn't campaign in the Lok Sabha election. So why wasn't he also given bail at that time? He was not given bail. He was nice enough to resign and saw the propriety of things.
The point, but that's exactly the point which BJP is harping on. Now, this is what
No, no,
I was
these are
just.
two different things. Yeah, you see, the Soren case is really very different from that of Kejriwal. And you can read that order that the High Court gave. It reasoned
Right.
out and said why Soren is not involved, which is not the case over here. The second point that was raised is that why can't he sign the files? You see, in the PMLA order, they have said that he can't do it. Now, judicial propriety says that you should not be in conflict with two different orders. One order is already there, that he should not enter and sign the file. One of the judges, unfortunately, I didn't read the second part. I read the first 20 pages. The other judge also says that whatever has been the condition in the PMLA case will apply. So they don't want to differ and create a conflict here and then refer it to another bench and all that. So that's what they have. And anyway, it is his strategy not to sign so that he is not hauled up for corruption. I mean, it's a deliberate strategy. See, just please understand, you can't. The vindictiveness that he has been subjected to is the same vindictiveness that in Punjab they are showing against their political opponents. What is so sanctimonious about this person that he says, I am different, I am entitled? What are you doing in Punjab? I may not agree with the channel, but then foisting a SC/ST case just because a channel exposed your Sheesh Mahal or whatever, I mean, that is not on. That's not how you behave. And then you don't use your legislative privilege to abuse Rajiv Gandhi, withdraw his Bharat Ratna, and Prime Minister is unpad. You might be more educated, but what have you done with your degrees? The whole generation which followed you, thinking that you are an anti-corruption crusader, they hugely feel let down. It's an irony that within 10 years, he is where he was accusing others to be. Why? Because of his lust of power. So let us call a spade and not make a martyr of something. Yes, he is good at making speeches as he accuses others, and he has managed to fool most of the people most of the time. That is his
All right.
USP.
Yes.
So
Now, okay. Now I'll interrupt you there because I want to come on that point to Akash only. That Akash, just going back to what Gaurav Bhatia said in his press conference, he says Arvind Kejriwal never got relief from any court and no charges have been quashed. He has not been discharged. There is no question of acquittal because the trial will continue. And Aam Aadmi Party has to answer why Arvind Kejriwal is not resigning. Now, this is what BJP would be saying in the coming months as well, that he still stands as an accused. So, how would you really respond to these charges? And when the campaign builds up for the Delhi elections, forget about Haryana and J&K, but let's start focusing on the Delhi elections. How will this argument by BJP hold water? Hold water for you, for your party?
Uh,
Yes.
See, Niluji, first of all, Gaurav Bhatia ji is a lawyer. He knows me. I know him very nicely. He should know that trial has not yet started. How it will continue, first of all. So trial has to first start, then it will be continuing. First. Second point is that you remember Niluji, during this particular uh, arguments were put in the Supreme Court, one statement by the Honorable ASG, where he said that the judgment of Supreme Court may affect the morale of High Court, to which Justice Bhuiya stopped him, even said that nothing of that sort will happen in this particular case. Keep this judgment with respect to the ASG statement. Never ever a lawyer not even ASG, have said a statement like this, that the judgment, if that is negating the order of the High Court, will put a negative effect on the morale of the High Court. The constitutional procedure is such that first there is a trial court, then there is the High Court, and then there is Supreme Court. So, like, will the High Court order put a less morale of the trial court? No. So, just imagine till what extent that Bharatiya Janata Party and its lawyers and its investigating agencies have gone. So if you think that BJP and its ministers will be as subtle as my previous speaker, who was saying that uh, chronology samjhiye, and he never didn't name the minister, they are not so subtle. They'll name him, they'll put them down, they'll nail and hammer that person also. So the politics in this country has changed. I don't think that the subtleness will return, but the victim in all this is the people of Delhi, which my previous speaker was saying.
All
The
right, now let me.
victim is Delhi. I'll take
Yes.
only 20 seconds. Why I say victim is Delhi people. A health minister has written till from last 6 months, letter after letter, for recruitment of doctors. By health secretary, health minister ko nahi sunta. The PWD minister has written letter after letters for monsoon plan, and PWD secretary, PWD minister ko nahi sunta. So sooner or later, the people of Delhi has to decide that why they are sending these people to Lok Sabha when they are doing nothing for them. The ball lies on the court of the people.
Now, I'll take the concluding comments from Javed, and then I'll finish the show. That Javed, now, if the people of Delhi have to decide, they know what has been done as far as the powers of LG are concerned. They would know that, Aam Aadmi Party again will continue to remain hamstrung because of a lot of reasons, because they don't have too many powers, and LG is really going to hold the reins. So how is it really going to manifest now over the next 6 months when it comes to Aam Aadmi Party versus BJP versus Congress?
The way I see it, the Aam Aadmi Party's numbers may come down, but the Aam Aadmi Party, look, all the work that the Aam Aadmi Party has done, especially from the beneficiaries, for those, its target group, its core group, they are the ones who benefited. That doesn't take away anything. My maid, I keep asking my maid, my driver, people who work, people who live in this in Camp Jagdamba in Camp, they all say, earlier they used to say, Saab, aap jisko kahiye vote denge. Now they say, nahi, Kejriwal. So I asked them, I said, but ye to jail mein hai. He said, wo to usko pareshan kiya, lekin bijli di na. So, acha, forget them. Even I am a beneficiary of that. I don't pay for my bijli, I don't pay for my pani. So for me, that, the Mohalla clinic is working, the schools are working, their MLA is, my MLA is available. He's one call away. So things that I need, I agree with the, the lawyer when he was saying there's lots, I have a lot of bones to pick with Mr. Kejriwal. Especially the way he looked the other way, his role during the Northeast Delhi riots. He for a long time he was torn between, he was not clear what ideological position he should take. He was trying to position himself as a right-wing alternative to the BJP. So all those things are there. But that's one aspect. The other aspect is that we are all beneficiaries. The power situation in Delhi has improved than what it was during previous regimes. There was a time when the BJP was in power and they changed 3 chief ministers in 1 year and went on to lose the elections. So I don't know how much of a dent his incarceration will make in his vote bank. Yes, amongst the chattering classes, and especially amongst the Godi media, of course, he's the biggest sinner. But when it comes to the elections, when it comes to the assembly elections, I do believe that the people will still give their vote to him. Maybe not, he may not get as big a majority as he had the last time, but still.
Right. So we'll have to wait and watch how this entire campaign builds up. Thank you so much, Javed Arunji, Puneet, Akash. Thank you so much for joining. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this discussion: subscribe to our channel, send us a feedback, and stay tuned to the Federal.